Hello and welcome to episode 165 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so shout out to INE for allowing me to use their platform for this episode. So INE is an award-winning cybersecurity certification and training provider dedicated to equipping professionals with the hands-on, in-demand skills needed to bridge the talent gap in the tech arena today. So visit the link get.ine.com/Daryl and apply any of the various promo codes listed below in the show notes to save up to 50% off of INE's 70 plus learning paths and 3,500 hours of hands on training content. This is for the month of March only, so take advantage of these limited time only deals in order to save. All right, so in this episode, I'm going to be getting into enumerating web application details and vulnerabilities with Nikto. All right, so Nikto is a free open source command line web service scanner that identifies potential security vulnerabilities, dangerous files, outdated software, and misconfigurations on web servers. So, since I am going to be doing some red teaming today, I want to give my usual disclaimer by saying that this is only for educational, research, and ethical purposes only. Any sort of malicious activities that may directly or indirectly come from someone watching this video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so the first thing to get started here is to do some discovery. All right, so let's find out what my IP address is. So I'm gonna do ifconfig since I am using a Linux, Kali Linux here. All right, so because I'm running on interface Ethernet 1, my IP address is 192.48.31.2. All right, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to conduct a ping sweep of my network here just so I can see what other machines are up and running. I'm going to send some ICMP packets to them, and whoever's currently running is going to respond back to me, and that's how I'm going to be able to choose my target host here. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to use fping. And I'm going to say dash a dash g, and I'm going to paste my IP address, except I'm going to modify it by changing this 2 to a 0 and adding a /4, which is my cider. And again, that's just letting fping know this to ping every node that's available within this particular range, and whoever's up and running, they're going to respond back. All right, so as usual, we have dot one, dot two, and dot three available. Dot one, more than likely, is my gateway, which I'm not going to mess with since I want to maintain my internet access. Dot two is myself, so dot three is our target host. So instead of doing usually after this, I would do a Nmap scan, but since that's not the focus on today's video, I'm just going to go straight to seeing if anything is being hosted at 192.48.31.3. All right, so going to my trusty web browser here. Let's expand that a bit. So I'm gonna paste my IP address here, change this 2 to a 3, and let's see what, if anything, is being hosted on our target host. All right, looks like we have an instance of multi-day running. So what OWASP multi-day is, it's a dummy web application created by OWASP for web vulnerability testing, and it's usually used to train professionals on how to find and identify certain types of web vulnerabilities. So this is to ensure that, when using Nikto here, that I find something in order to be able to show exactly how to use it. All right. So now that we see what's being hosted here, I'm gonna jump back to my terminal, and I'm actually going to run Nikto. I'm going to scan the entirety of this multi-day web application. All right, so I'm gonna say Nikto dash H. All right, for host, and then again I'm gonna paste in my IP address, change this 2 to a 3, which is our target host, and let's get that running here. So this only take a couple of seconds. All right, so let's scroll up a bit here. And you see, there's quite a bit of output here. I'm not going to go through all this output, all right? So I'm gonna just go through a few things here to show how an attacker or at least a white hat pen tester could then be able to identify certain things about the back end technology and use, and also any identifying any sort of vulnerabilities that may be present. All right. So starting from the top here, all right, we can see it's actually identified the server type, and looks like the operating system. So we can see that the server type, the web server type that is using is Apache, all right, and the version is 2.4.7, and the operating system appears to be Linux Ubuntu. All right, so this at least tells me two things about what's going on the back end. All right, so it tells me it's using two out of the four necessary ingredients of the lamp stack, which is short for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. All right, so these are the um, um, commonly used variables used together when using web technology. So if I'm an attacker or a pen tester, it lets me know exactly what technology they use on the back end, and any sort of vulnerabilities that I may know are associated with those. I could then be able to start to form a plan of action. All right. So then going down a bit, we can see we have an X powered header here, and this X powered header tells me that it's running a version of PHP here. All right. So again, so that now we have three out of the four lamp stack features that are being applied here. All right. So I've gained that much information that fast. All right. So if I go down a few lines here, I can see the presence of robots.txt. So what robot.txt is it's a plain text file that's placed on web servers and is used to instruct search engines such as Google bots on which pages within a web page or within a web server that it's allowed and not allowed to crawl and index. So basically, it's something that tells the search engine, hey, you can't make this searchable for folks. All right. So this though is accessible to me, which it should not be. All right. So let's see if I could make a visit there, and let's see what's going on, if anything, with robots txt. All right. So I'm gonna just add that to the URL. And let's make a visit there. All right, and we can see we have a whole disallowed list. So of course we see that there's a password directories, we see that there's a classes directory, so on and so on. So so me as the attacker is telling me, it's showing me what the presence of the directories there that's being disallowed to be viewed remotely, on the public internet. But I'm aware now of their presence in the naming conventions. All right, which I should not have access to that. So that's definitely a vulnerability. All right. So going back to our Nikto output here, all right. So another thing that I see is the presence of a config directory. All right, so it looks like because I can see that it looks like it's been configured to allow access to view it in its entirety. So usually it would just point to maybe some specific files within that directory, but it's looking like that because it's saying a directory indexing file. I have access to, or anyone can access this entire directory, which that should not be. So let's test that out. Going back to the browser here, and so let's take out, well, I didn't want to take out all of that, but seriously, yeah, there we go. All right. And then let's go to config. All right. Let's see what happens. All right. So fortunately for the folks hosting this, there's nothing in this directory that that I could be able to look at, exploit, or enumerate any further. All right, but one thing to take notice of, that it's verifying the use of the Apache server and the operating system here, and it's verifying that by telling me that, hey, this IP address is associated with Apache 2.4.7. Again, if I wanted to find any sort of vulnerabilities that may be associated to that specific version, I could, and then let me know that it's running an Ubuntu Linux operating system on the back end. And of course, this site is being hosted over port 80. All right. So again, it's verifying those details, which I've already were able to verify on the first couple of lines, but it's always good to have that verification there. All right. But I should not, under no circumstances, have access to this directory. So that's another vulnerability that Nikto has found. All right, and then let's see, scrolling down a bit more here in our output. All right. Of course, we know about the passwords directory, but let's look. Or if you remember, in a few episodes ago, I covered PHP my admin. It looks like we have the presence of that here. What PHP my admin is, again, it's a free web-based tool for managing MySQL and/or Maria DB databases through GUI to perform common database tasks such as creating and deleting tables, adding and editing records, executing SQL queries, managing user permissions, and importing and exporting data. All right, so more than likely, this is filling in the gap as far as the M part of our lamp stack, and is going to I'm going to make a visit there to verify that that this target is indeed using the full lamp stack. But I should not, again, I should not have access to this again, because it gives me access to not only the database, but also as far as managing user permissions. All right, so basically it's an admin tool. All right, so let's go to PHP my admin. All right, and we see there was zero authentication there, which again, there should be some sort of authentication mechanism there where someone would have to come in, provide some type of authentication or some type of user credentials to verify that they are at liberty to access and even view this information. All right, so if we look over to the right, we can see that it verifies that indeed that the software, the database software in use is my SQL. All right, and then it also verifies the other parts of the lamp stamp. So we can see that Ubuntu is being used. All right, so it verifies that. All right, then we also see that I'm root user, which is never a good thing. All right, and then we can see that Apache 2.4.7 is being used. All right, then it gives us the specific version of MySQL being used, which is 5.5.47, and then we can see that that is indeed using PHP. So this verifies it verifies everything here within this PHP My Admin portal of the entire LAMP stack and the versions of each of those attributes that are being used. So again, that's good news for me as an attacker, bad news here for those hosting this. Well, remember, this is a multi-day, so it's supposed to be vulnerable, and it's supposed to show worst case scenarios as far as hosted web applications. So uh, do keep that in mind, that things aren't going to be, this easy to find, or hopefully not this bad in the wild. Okay. Now that I've covered that, I also wanted to show, okay, we've scanned this entire directory, or I mean, excuse me, this entire application. Now I want to show how we can scan a specific directory, and it's also something listed here. All right, that gives me an idea as far as something specific to look for. So I want to be able to see if I could find any instances of any local file inclusion vulnerabilities. All right. So anytime we see this is indicative of a file transversal attack or vulnerability, which again can be the result of a local file inclusion. So in order to look for that, I'm going to go back to multi-day. So let's get rid of this and let's go back just to the target host. All right, so I'm gonna go here to OWASP 2017 and down to let's see, broken access control, insecure direct object references into, oop, and it disappeared on me. All right, let's try that again. Into local file inclusion. Here we go. All right, so it's taking me to this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this full the full URL here, and just like I ran Nikto before on the entire application, this time I'm going to aim at this specific directory here. All right, so let's copy that and let's go back to the command terminal. All right, and scrolling back down here. All right, so I'm gonna say Nikto. Oops. All right, dash ace for host, and then I'm gonna paste the entire URL, and I'm gonna add a few things here. See, so I'm gonna say tuning 5 and a dash lowercase o for output, and I want to output the results of this to a file called Nikto .html, and then after it's done scanning, I'm gonna view that in that HTML format. So I need to specify that format here by saying format, capital F format. All right, and then HTML. All right, so again, this is going to run a web application scan against this whole directory to find any sort of vulnerabilities that may be present here. And then it's going to output it into a file called nikto.html. And then once that's done running, I'm going to show the results of that in that format. All right, so let's get that running. This may take a few seconds. All right, looks like it's all done. All right, so we still see this here, and I want to view this in the HTML format. So I'm gonna go up here to my folder directory, and I'm gonna go to open folder. All right, so we can see the formatted file right here. So I'm gonna right click that, and I'm gonna open with my Firefox browser, since that's in HTML format. It should be able to render it there. All right, so we can now see the HTML rendering here, and so we can see where during the scan where we have a bunch of HTTP methods here, a few GET methods, and basically this is how the scanner works by using different sort of HTTP methods. All right, so let's scroll down, and here we go. Right here at the very end, we can see um, basically our file transversal attack here. All right, so give me a minute here. So anytime when looking over reports, and we see anything that looks like this, where we see dot slash dot slash dot, and it leads to a directory, that is highly indicative of a path transversal vulnerability, which basically enables an attacker to remotely access an internal directory with sensitive information, to be able to then enumerate that information, or exfiltrate that information. In this instance, it's leading to the Etsy passwd file, which houses the usernames and the usernames of those who have access on the back end to this web server. So again, if I wanted to then know what the names of those user and service accounts are, I could be able to find out what they are by executing this type of attack. And then also we see here in the description, it also specifies what element of this application is the root cause of this issue, which is the PHP nuke rocket add-in, and that is the vulnerable component that is enabling that file transversal, and which probably has a local file inclusion vulnerability in it. And when I say local file inclusion, that's to mean that the web application is being forced to include files already present on the server, often again leading to directory transversal techniques such as these. All right, so if we look at the test links, all right, so this will allow me to click on this and see, okay, exactly what could someone do. What would be the result if someone were to execute this sort of attack? So I'm gonna click this and follow it, and let's see what happens. All right, and bam, we have an entire list here of user and service accounts that are present on the back end web server. So again, this is definitely not information that you want an attacker to be able to have, because then they would be able to know what the specific naming conventions are of those user accounts, and then be able to then formulate a more elaborate plan. All right, so this brings me this brings me to the end of my video. Again, wanted to remind you, if you were impressed by what you saw, all right, or if you want to learn how to execute actions like this, or gain skills such as this, please remember to visit get.ine.com/Daryl to save on INE's training and certification paths, and it would be a great benefit to you as it's been to me. All right, so until next time, remember to show your work, and to take care of yourself, and God bless.